Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome from the UK here. My name is Richard Benwell, founder and product architect at Squared Up, and I've got the pleasure of introducing you today to our latest feature release, Squared Up 3.4. As usual, we'll have the technical team online on the chat live, so please do drop in questions as we're going along. We'll try and cover those off for you, and I'll pick up questions at the end. Today's agenda, what I wanted to do to begin with is start with a recap of our release roadmap, so looking just at the past few releases and the cadence there, and a forward look at what we're going to be doing in 2018. I also wanted to take the opportunity to update you on some of the free community resources we have and have planned. And then, of course, I'll be diving into 3.4. So as usual, I have 3 live demos for you to show you off the new features. And then we're going to finish by taking a quick look ahead at version 4. And then if no questions come in, we'll sort of hopefully wrap up. Otherwise, I'll take any kind of questions that you guys have towards the end. All right, so just a quick sort of recap on the Squared Up release roadmap, sort of looking back to just at the end of 2016 there at Ignite, when we launched Squared Up 3.0 with a whole new total dashboard architecture and, of course, Vader. And then throughout 2017, you would have seen 3 feature releases taking us up into September, which was the last time I did a webinar. And showed off a brand new release. And of course, we have then today Squared Up 3.4, where I'd be taking you through the great new features we have. We have been talking about Squared Up vNext, both at Ignite and other events. So I just wanted to also kind of clarify then that we have a brand new version, Squared Up 4.0, coming out later this year, covering off a whole new array of features around enterprise application monitoring. So that is still coming ahead, and we'll be obviously introducing that to you hopefully sort of as soon as we have a tech preview and a general availability of that later this year. So this today is just going to be looking at 3.4, and then we'll be covering off 4.0 later. And of course, throughout the year, we'll then have feature releases updating the new v4 branch throughout the year. So that's the where we've been over the last year and what we have coming up 2018. And today, obviously, I wanted to talk to you about 3.4. But before I do that, I wanted to also just cover off some of the free community resources we've been delivering. So as well as the main product line, where you'll see both sort of the new features and maintenance releases, and also the kind of major new feature coming out later this year. We've also been working on these free SCOM resources to help fill out the complete sort of picture around SCOM. You know, we know that it's not just the dashboarding visualization tool on top of SCOM that you need. There are other areas of SCOM that need up-leveling and sort of keeping pace with modern demands. Of course, hopefully you'll all be familiar with the PowerShell management pack that we released last year. That's doing really well. If you haven't got your hands on it yet, obviously go grab that as soon as you can. It adds in PowerShell authoring support to the SCOM console. Everywhere there was VB script, there's now PowerShell. So we've seen a great response to that, loads of good ideas sort of around how to use that. We'll actually be sending out an email this week to you, trying to collect some good uses and good examples of how you've used that PowerShell management pack, and hopefully then being able to sort of share those with the broader community. Having sort of introduced that support into the SCOM console, we're now really kind of keen to sort of hopefully share as many ideas as possible, how you can all extend SCOM to monitor even more of your estate. As well as the PowerShell management pack, we also launched our community management pack catalog. So that's a community curated catalog of free management packs. That catalog is maintained as an open source catalog up on GitHub. And then we also released a SCOM console add-on in the form of a management pack that allows you to browse and keep up to date with all of the latest community management packs. That's been a great success as well. Hundreds of downloads of that, and we also have dozens of management packs on that, and I think kind of new management packs are coming in still on a regular pace. So really great to see us sort of capture the great community around SCOM and all those management packs being developed that extend SCOM further. If you caught us recently on a webinar, we ran a webinar on hybrid cloud monitoring, and we really wanted to focus on hybrid cloud monitoring in 2018. We're seeing increased adoption of Azure and AWS. And so we wanted to help support SCOM monitoring in that arena as well. Two solutions we have in beta at the moment. One is a cloud discovery management pack that discovers your Azure and AWS resources and platform health from within the SCOM agent itself. So a fantastic way of just installing a management pack into your SCOM management group, and then any SCOM agents running within public cloud VMs will automatically discover their hosting environment, tell you whether it's an Azure or an AWS hosting environment, tell you full details about the subscription and even the health of that environment. So that's a fantastic way of really understanding where all of your SCOM agents are and the different platforms they're running on, so you can do all that without having to connect through a subscription API for Azure and AWS. So that's currently in beta. Please do drop us a line at hello@squaredup.com if you'd like access to that and try that out. And along with that, we also introduced another brand new community project, which is called the Bootstrap Discovery Tool. Recognizing that one of the problems with SCOM is that it can be seen as sort of quite slow to discover new instances, new virtual machines, and also the components within those instances. This Bootstrap Discovery tool allows you to pre-approve new SCOM agents. So there's no need to wait for an agent to connect and then to be approved. So you can pre-approve SCOM agents and also inject discovery data. So as soon as a new virtual machine starts up, you can start monitoring health and performance data from that new VM within minutes of that VM starting. So that's a sort of fantastic tool as well. It's in beta, and again, please do drop us a line at hello@squaredup.com if you'd like to participate in that beta. On top of all that, we have a major new community project to be announced very soon. That's looking very good, very exciting new project for 2018 that we think will have a great impact on all of you, very relevant to every single one of you using SCOM. We'll be announcing a preview of that as soon as we have that available. But as a sort of bit of a tip, catch us at the Select MP University virtual event that's in May. So if you don't know about that, it's probably an event worth attending anyway, with some great speakers from across the SCOM community. So just search for MP University with Select there and sign up for that. And we'll be speaking at that event and talking more about this new project we have coming. All right, so with that done, let's move on to looking at what we actually have to show you today for SquaredUp 3.4. So three major new features that we're introducing 3.4. The first one, a brand new tile, the donut tile. Hopefully you saw that in the announcement email that we sent out last week. I'll be showing that in a second, but that hopefully is going to be sort of very well received and really change the way you can build your dashboards and drill downs. On top of that, fantastic new feature, which is dashboard export to Excel. So taking the feature that we had for exporting performance data and really now opening that up to all of your data within SCOM and SquaredUp. And a third feature, which is sort of two features in one, which is improved Azure integration. So we now have dedicated tiles for both log analytics and app insights. So that's updating our OMS integration to support the new Kusto language and the solutions in Azure that are based on that new Kusto platform. All right, so I'm going to, in this webinar, give you a quick demo of those three new features. As always, you'll find new videos available on YouTube and KB articles and further information about these probably on coffee breaks as well over the coming weeks and months. But for now, I just wanted to kind of introduce you to those new features and give you an idea of what you'll be able to do when you download 3.4. So first up, donut tile. There it is. Looks pretty good. Looks great in action as well. So brand new donut tile. It's available for both health state and alerts. So you can sit this on top of any SCOM object, so any group of objects or class of objects, and summarize the health state. And you can do the same with alerts as well. So scope a tile to any alerts and then sit this on top of those alerts to summarize the resolution state, or severity, or priority. It's perfect for summarizing status. So it's sort of an area that we had a lot of feedback around SquaredUp over the years, which is as well as all that sort of detailed, drill down and dashboards. You also want to provide those very sort of high level dashboards just to give a sense of the status of your environment, and of course also perfect for those wall monitor boards where you want to have really high visibility of the number of issues you have in your environment. As well as the new tile, and I'll show you this in a second, we've actually introduced a new drill down to back this tile. So you can actually drill down into any of those categories there and view, for example, those 6 warning servers. So this is an area which we haven't had in the product before, and I'll show you it in action. It's probably something also that we're going to be expanding on over the year with sort of feature releases and enhancing this drill down capability. All right, so let's take a look at the donut tile in action. I'm just going to switch over here to my demo lab. So this is 3.4, similar sort of starting screen, so all the same quick starts and dashboard packs and access to your applications as you'd expect. What I'm going to do is just drop into my Windows Server dashboard that I have here. So this is a good example where we have a bunch of Windows 2016 servers. Some of them are warning states, some are green. And typically, you'd want to see at a glance the status of those. And you can use the status tile as we've used here, but you want to be able to sort of see a summary, perhaps put that onto a wallboard. So I'm just going to drop into edit mode here and just add in a new column to the side. Let's pull that across. And you'll find the donut tile not at the top, so there's no new donut tile category at the top. What we've done is we've tucked it in with status and alert. So when you click on status, you now have the choice of showing a group of servers, for example, as icons or as those status blocks that we introduced with 3.3. And now we have this new tile, the donut tile, as an option for how to show status. So if I click on donut here, let's scope this to, I'm just going to actually scope this to all Windows computers. And there we go. So pulls it in very quickly. No real sort of options on this apart from just scaling that donut tile to give you the right effect. Obviously, if you're using this on a drill down or you have many of these on the same dashboard, then we have this nice sort of default size that's sort of in keeping with the other tiles that we have. But you can also select a custom size here. So let's make that nice and large and hit done. There's an option there to take the legend off, so we can drop this if we just want that large donut. You can see here that when I do mouse over, we can sort of drill down, within the dashboard on those numbers. So just sort of a nice interactivity. So I'm just going to call that the status tile, and I'm just going to do the same for alerts. So again, tucked under alerts here. So if we want to show alert information, we now have 2 choices. So it's not just the alert list. We have the alert list and now a donut tile summary. So let's just click on donut tile. Just going to scope that to the same set of objects. Now we have the same filters for alerts, so you can filter down your alerts to different severities and so on. One thing that's worth noting here, let me just come to grouping. I can group by severity, which is probably mostly what you're going to group by, so showing the fact there are 11 new open alerts. I can also group by resolution state. In our case, they're all new alerts, but if you do use resolution states, that's obviously a great way just to see the progress of alerts through your workflows. But just one thing to note, that if you do resolution states, if I come back to filters here, any open will be showing you all open alerts, but not closed alerts. So for example, if you wanted to show the ratio of open to closed alerts, you'll actually probably want to select new and closed. So for example, if I do that, you can see that we have 34 new alerts and 777 closed alerts over the last 30 days. So just a tip there if you do want to show closed and others. Obviously, we can also pop in, for example, acknowledged if we had some, and that would appear in the donut tile. If I just switch back to any open, that just then filters it back down to the open alerts. So that's a very simple usage of the donut tile. Hopefully you'll get up to speed with this very quickly. Let's just make that a nice big tile as well. And tell you what, let's go back to severity. So I have those 2 tiles on my dashboard. So as I say, new tile, very high impact, great for wall monitors as well as just for your regular dashboards, nice interactivity. And then the additional feature that I mentioned there on the slide was a new drill down capability. So as well as summarize the information, I can now drill down into this information and view, for example, the 6 servers that are in a warning state. So I'm just going to do that in a new tab. I can either do that on the legend here or on the segment of the donut. If I just right click, show it that in a new tab. We have a new dynamic sort of drill down within Squared Up. So this uses the dynamic table tile. So when you drill down, you get more than just the list of servers and their names, but you also get that key information around their host, IP address, CPU, and memory, and so on. And we'll be doing more work around the dynamic table tile in v4. So here we can drill down very quickly into those 6 servers that are in a warning state, and of course drill down further into that server and troubleshoot from there. So a really nice consistent experience. It's not just that summary tile on your dashboards, but also the ability to drill down and take action. And the same thing with alerts. So if I have my 11 alerts here, 12, just had a brand new alert come in. Open that up, and we get a dynamic drill down into those 12 alerts. So that is not actually a dashboard. We can sort of save this off, or we can recreate this as a dashboard if we want, but this is just now dynamically showing us those 12 alerts, and you can see there the URL is quite a complicated URL because it's filtering dynamically to the donut tile scope. Of course, from within here, we can now update these and put that into acknowledge, for example, and manage those alerts within Squared Up. So nice new experience around that. As I say, hopefully you'll be looking forward to getting your hands on that, and really, I guess, probably supplementing some of the dashboards you already have with this new summary information. All right, so that's first new feature, brand new tile, and there's more tiles coming with v4 as well. Next feature up is dashboard export to Excel. I think this is a really sort of exciting, sort of powerful new feature. We've had export to Excel in the product already with previous versions, where you can drill down into performance data and export that. We now have that information across the entire product. So either at a dashboard layer or at a drill down layer, you can now export all of the data from every tile into a single Excel spreadsheet. So a very, very powerful way of now producing reports on top of your SCOM data, and I'll show you that in a second. One sort of key sort of note is that we are just exporting the underlying data as the tile uses. We don't actually export the visualization. So you can see there on the right, we're not attempting to draw pie charts and SLA gauges and so on within Excel. We sort of realized that probably would take us down a route that would be sort of too hard to support across all of our tiles that we had. So you still do get the line graphs exported when you drill down into a performance report and export that, but on a dashboard level, we're just exporting the data. And of course, on top of the data, you can then produce the graphs and so on within Excel if you want to. This is fully supported across all tiles. In particular, I think a really nice use case is putting this on top of the SQL and the Web API tiles for custom reporting. So with the SQL tiles, all the Web API tiles, you can of course connect to, say, the SCOM data warehouse and produce some custom reports against the SCOM data warehouse. And I'll be showing you some of those queries and reporting options in tomorrow's coffee break. But also you can connect to third-party data sources. So outside of SCOM, you can connect to any SQL database you have in your organization, any application or platform that supports a web API. You can, of course, connect Squared Up to that and pull that data through out into a dashboard. And now with the export to Excel, your users can get that data out into Excel as well. So sort of a very, very sort of easy way to enrich your sort of dashboards further and allow your users to really get to any data within your organization that supports either SQL or Web API connections. So let's take a quick demo. It's pretty straightforward, as you'd hope. What I'm going to do here is just extend this dashboard a bit further, just so we've got some richer information. So I'm just going to put those donut charts off to the middle there, and then I'm just going to add in a top N report on my disk space. So let's just scope that to my group here. Put in free space. And that will do there. And let's grab some CPU data. Oops. I'm going to title that as well. There you go. So quite a rich dashboard. So we have health state information, the summary information in the middle here, and also the performance data on the right. And if I just come out of edit mode, you'll see we've got an extra button actually for the GA release coming up. We'll turn that into a little Excel icon for you as well. But if I click that export button, it takes a couple of seconds, not long at all, and all of that data now is available as an Excel spreadsheet downloaded. As you see, it is an Excel spreadsheet, so it's not just CSV data. And what that allows us to do is combine data from all of those tiles in that dashboard into a single Excel spreadsheet. So across the bottom here, I have different tabs, one for each tile. So you can see here we've got my server status data, so the status of each server. Here I have my donut tile summary, so we can see how many were in each state. A summary of the alerts. Here's my disk space top N, so a fantastic kind of report there that really just gives me all the data I need. And then if I wanted to see specific CPU measurements, I've got a table there, one for each server for all those sort of CPU measurements as well. So all of that data there. And if I wanted to, I could start building diagrams using Excel on top of this data, or of course I can do some analysis or just send that around and capture that. So very, very easy. If I had a SQL tile in there as well, obviously all of that data that would be in the grid view would be exported, and I'll show you that in one of those next demos coming up with the Azure integration. So very simple, hopefully works just as you'd expect, and all of your users now will be able to make the most of that and start producing reports and exports from their dashboards. Same is true of drill down. So if you drill down into a group or a server, any kind of context, you can now export all of that data from that page into an Excel spreadsheet. All right, so the last feature that I want to run through today is Azure Integration. And as I say, this is actually two features in one. This is Azure Log Analytics and Azure App Insights integration. And what we've done here is taken what was quite a complex integration through the Web API tile. So the need to set up custom authentication and also to construct various queries out to the APIs for Log Analytics and App Insights. And we've bundled that all up into some very easy to use tiles, dedicated tiles there that you can see on the right hand side. Both tiles are really, well, both solutions, both Log Analytics and App Insights are built on top of the new Kusto platform. So Log Analytics is the new generation of what was OMS. So that's been rebuilt in Azure on top of this new Kusto platform. Offers the same solutions, so log collections, Windows Update Analytics, security auditing, and so on. All of that data now going into this new Kusto platform that you can query. And that platform is also the same platform that's used for App Insights. So very, very sort of similar tiles, very sort of similar integration, but the use cases are very different. So whereas Log Analytics is typically collecting large amounts of data from all of your servers, App Insights is very much focused on application performance management. So typically you have App Insights enabled for one or more of your applications that are being developed in-house, and that can pull down very, very sort of insightful information both about the end user performance. It can instrument and log the actual server-side code, so deep insights into .NET and Java code showing you where errors are and response times all the way through into your databases as well. So really, really sort of interesting information. You'll probably have, hopefully, sort of one or more of your teams in your organization, perhaps sort of looking at App Insights and as well as looking at Log Analytics if you're starting to adopt Azure. So we have two new dedicated tiles for these. The results are visualized at the moment as grid or scalar. So these are equivalent to the SQL tile and the Web API tile from that point of view. So querying that data and pulling it back as a grid or a scalar. And of course, as usual, you can put these tiles in alongside your SCOM data. So based on a particular group of servers or a particular application, you can now supplement your SCOM data with this data from Azure. So let's take a look at how this is going to work out. So if I just fire up my same dashboard here. So I'm going to keep this same dashboard. Let's go back into edit mode. And I'm going to put in a new tile that I want to see missing updates, so missing Windows updates for these servers. We have a new tile group here called Azure, using the new Azure logo there. As you can see, this sits alongside the OMS tile. So the old OMS tile is now sort of somewhat deprecated. We expect to see all of our customers who were using the OMS integration move over to the Azure integration as they've updated their OMS workspace to the new Kusto platform. So I click on the Azure tile. I now get a couple of choices. I'm going to go with Log Analytics to begin with. It asks me to select a provider. So at this point, rather than having to go off and construct sort of quite complex web API authentication schemes, we've simplified the provider configuration. We've actually got one already, so I'm just going to choose Squared Up, but I'm also just going to come off quickly and show you where that is configured. So if I come into System here, previously the OMS connection was configured on the connection tab, but these Azure connections are now configured on the Web API tab. So as I say, the Azure APIs now are sort of fairly well-behaved web APIs. So we've sort of repurposed our Web API tile to perform these integrations. And you can see here we have dedicated authentication schemes for App Insights and Log Analytics. So unfortunately, they're not quite standardized OAuth authentication schemes. So we have had to sort of customize a little bit for easy integration with App Insights and Log Analytics. But you can see there that we have our two connections configured. So coming back to the tile, we've selected our Log Analytics provider, and next we need to paste in a query. So this now supports the new Kusto query language. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hop over to Log Analytics up in Azure here. And I'm going to construct my query up in the Kusto console. So as with OMS, we sort of recommend this is where you start and you construct your queries here, and then pull those down into Squared Up once you're happy with them. So for example, if I just start with update summaries, oops, let's get that spelled right, and run that query, you can see here that Log Analytics is collecting information about the missing updates on all of my Windows servers. So we can see here sort of each record has a number of different fields about sort of missing security updates and so on. So rather than putting all of that information, I can use Kusto and the nice query editor to customize that information quite specifically. So I'm just pasting that in rather than typing it here, but we can see we sort of do some summaries and join that with some additional information about missing updates. But if I just run that, we should see that data come through in our sort of Kusto console here as a grid. So having got to the information we want, what we can now do is just copy that query, come back in. As I say, this is a Kusto query editor here, so we just sort of paste that in, just tab out, and that should execute in the background, and we pull that same information into our Squared Up dashboard. The data is rendered as a grid, so you have all of the same capabilities as you have with the SQL and the Web API tiles. So let's just drop a bunch of these columns here that I'm not interested in. This is oldest. Let's drop that one. We don't want that. Just pick off the columns that we do. So let's just rename these as well. We should get to start to shape this data into a nice form for our dashboard. Security and others. And total. Restart pending, so we can actually see whether the server is waiting for a restart. So for example, if it is missing updates, that could be because the server restart hasn't happened yet. Again, this is sort of internal information from Log Analytics that we don't need. So there we have our missing updates information coming from Azure Log Analytics for all of our servers on our dashboard. So we can see that alongside a summary of the health state of our servers, performance metrics, and current status. So very, very easy now to pull in log analytics and fully updated to support the new Kusto platform. Before I come off that, I'm just going to come out of edit mode. I'm just going to click export again now. And seamlessly, as a user of this dashboard, I see all the information I want to see. I can export that into Excel. And what we should see here is that we should have an extra tab. Missing updates with that information coming right out of Azure. So this really is what we're working towards in Squared Up, which is as a user, you just need to get the data you need to do your job day to day. You don't need to start grappling with a new Azure portal with Kusto query language and many, many options, right? You're wanting to day-to-day work with the server health, look at the server performance, and if you want update information as well, that can be seamlessly added into your dashboard. You don't need to worry about where it's coming from, and it all comes out into your Excel report for you. So in single pane of glass, you have information coming from a number of different sources, into one place that's very, very easy to use and manage. So that's a great example of nice sort of integration across all of these tools. So as you are starting to adopt these additional platforms like Azure Log Analytics, you can really deliver those out to your users very, very kind of quickly and effectively. We do have App Insights integration as well. So let me just show you a quick example of that. So if I come down into my sales app here, so we have the typical prospectus on top of the SCOM data. But if I did want to supplement this with APM-like data, so if I wanted to give my application team information about specific errors that were happening at a code level within this application, I can now do that with Azure App Insights. So for example, if I put in exceptions here, just as the perspective title. So using the Azure tile category again, but this time using App Insights, a very similar experience. It's going to filter it to the App Insights providers that I've set up. So I've set one up for this sales app. So this App Insights instance is dedicated to this particular application, and that's the normal configuration you'll find with App Insights is it has one instance per app. So I just select my sales app there, and again asks me for a query. So I'm going to hop off to App Insights. So you may or may not be familiar with this. You can sort of see that it has a familiar look and feel from an Azure point of view, and actually where it is familiar if you're used to log analytics is the query language. So I can sort of click plus here, and we have this very similar query editor for the Kusto query language. So if I just drop down, oops, excuse me, let's come back to that. Drop down, I'm just going to pull out a query that I've put together before. So looking at requests that have failed, and then actually trying to link that where that sort of request has failed because of some exception that's happened at code level. So I just run that. You should see the list of exceptions that happened. So these are very familiar if you're ever worked with C# and .NET. So we have things like communication exceptions, socket exceptions, and so on. This could also be sort of database exceptions and the like. You can actually then see specifically where in the application the exception has happened. Now this is only going to be really relevant if you have an application team who can consume this. So typically App Insights is used for applications that are being developed in-house, typically on the .NET platform, and they can be either deployed both sort of on-prem or up in Azure. But if you do have an application team that's developing in-house, if they are familiar with App Insights, you can now pull that data back down into your Squared Up dashboards and give them a full operational dashboard, based on both the infrastructure health, but all the way up to now the code level health. So we can see also a number of the count here, so the number of exceptions of this type. So I'm going to take that result. So this is great. I can do that all within App Insights, but as I say, just like with the log analytics scenario, I want to see this information alongside all the other data I have about my infrastructure and the log data I have from log analytics. So I can take that same query. Let's just copy that out of my query editor here, paste that in, just tab out, and we get the same data coming out into a new perspective on this application. So I can now save that off, publish that out, and publish out this perspective on this application, as well as other perspectives showing my ITSM data from ServiceNow or Service Manager, my log data from Splunk or Log Analytics, and of course all of my SCOM data about this application as well out to my application team. And of course they can, if they want to link back into some other portals, they can link back into App Insights if they want to from here. This is just that sort of summary information, so they can see at a glance everything that's going on with their application in one single pane of glass before they link off into dedicated tools. So that's the Azure integration, so both for Log Analytics and App Insights. Again, hopefully if you are using those platforms, you'll be keen to pick up those new tiles and get that working on Squared Up. If you're new to those platforms, obviously find out in your business if anyone is sort of starting to adopt those, and we can show you what Squared Up can do with that new tile integration. All right, so that's the three main new features in Squared Up 3.4, the donut tiles, the export to Excel, and the new Azure integration. I just wanted to finish off on a 3.4 front just with a couple of notes about upgrade and availability. It's actually very straightforward, very similar to a 3.3 release. 3.4 is going to be an in-place upgrade for 3.x. So if you have any 3-point release, you can upgrade directly to 3.4. All of your dashboards and perspectives are upgraded, and you can start extending your dashboards with the donut tile and the new Azure tiles. We will be making a release candidate, so 3.4.0 will be available today, and we'll send out an email probably first thing tomorrow once that is available from our download site, so you can all go ahead and grab that. That, although we're calling it a release candidate, it is fully supported. It is the 0 version of 3.4, so fully supported, fully upgradable, both to 3.4 and from 3.4. The only reason we call it a release candidate is that we're not pushing that out into our mainstream releases. So, for example, for new customers and evaluation downloads until we get feedback from you, our customers. And that, of course, will be prioritized. So if you do go and grab 3.4.0 first thing tomorrow, drop us a line if you see any issues or have any feedback at all, and we'll prioritize that via our support channel, so support@squaredup.com. We'll then be delivering 3.4.0, 3.4.1 if any changes are required on the 4th of April, so next week. That will be made generally available and open to all new customers as well as existing customers. So you can choose today or tomorrow to download 3.4.0 and get that rolled out, or just hang off a second and see how the initial release goes and sort of pick that up when you're ready to roll that out into production next week. So that's 3.4. Just to wrap up then, I wanted to look ahead quickly at version 4. So although we've delivered 3.4 out this quarter, really our main focus has been on this major new release. So 3.4 I think is looking really good and brings some great features into the v3 platform. But the main focus for us in 2018 is going to be the v4 platform. So we've made some major framework improvements to that platform. So there's a great list of improvements here. Really working at both the fundamentals. We've got some very fast dashboard indexing, which means that your navigation bar and drilling down through your dashboards is going to work much faster. We've optimized the JavaScript experience on the client side, so again the general browsing experience is much faster. We've simplified high availability, so if you do deploy Squared Up in a HA mode, we've really sort of simplified how that's going to work and make that much more robust. We've updated the navigation and authoring experience. It's a bit more sort of streamlined. Introduced a new access control mechanism for your dashboards called Team Folders, which is looking fantastic. And a lot of people have been asking us about that, about delegating out dashboard authoring to their different teams. So that's going to be a great new sort of feature for larger deployments. And we've revamped and made customizable the dynamic table. So lots of good news coming around that tile, and I'll sort of talk more in the V4 webinars about that. the main sort of focus beyond just sort of all those framework improvements in v4 is really tackling this challenge around enterprise application monitoring. And as we've said before, we think SCOM is fantastically placed to address this challenge. So loads of improvements to VADA, Visual Application Discovery and Analysis. So you're able to now discover your applications and push those directly into SCOM as DAs. So no need to download them as a management pack and import them separately. You can now both create and edit DAs directly within SCOM. We've supplemented that with component level discovery, so being able to do discovery at a database and a web application and a Windows service level, so really much greater insight into the topologies of your applications. We've also extended that out to load balancers. Fantastic feature, really excited about demoing this when it comes to it. So you can sort of see the discovery go through a load balancer and see actually what's behind that load balancer and continue out across your application topology. We've also really sort of focused on how to monitor these applications as well as mapping them out. So we've added in link dependency monitoring, great new feature, and also provided you with sort of full self-service availability monitoring, so URL monitoring, TCP monitoring, and more. So absolutely fantastic list of features coming in v4. We're sort of busy working away, finalizing all that ready for release later this year. I'm not going to give you a demo today, but I can't wait to be on the next webinar and be taking you through all of that. It's going to be a really exciting new feature release, or major release later this year. So with that, I think that kind of wraps up everything I wanted to tell you today. As I say, look out for our coffee break webinars tomorrow, where I'll be talking about data warehouse querying, and then we'll have future webinars both on our community projects, so loads of good community projects coming, as well as, of course, v4 coming later this year. We will also be running, as we've done across the community projects, we will also be running early access programs. So if you want access to some of those community projects, let us know. If you want early access to v4 and some of these features are very relevant to you and what you're doing in your business, then drop us a line and we'll put you sort of on the list there, and we'll be sort of talking about that more in the coming weeks. So we'll be sort of rolling out an early access program for v4. So do let us know if you're interested in all of this and can help us build and finalize all of these projects for you. So with that, thanks again for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.